Hello and welcome to the Sacred Priestess podcast, where I help a beautiful awakening women activate their sacred feminine energy so that they can find clarity, connection, and confidence in their spiritual journey. So great to have you here once again. Thank you so much for tuning in, listening to this episode, where we are talking about 5 things that you can be doing to stay out of the collective chaos. So at the moment, the energy is really ramping up. We've got a few different timelines that I think could be possible of coming into play, but no matter what timeline we're heading into, there is definitely going to be a lot of that energetic chaos, emotional chaos that happens when big things change on the planet. So we saw this with the shmo, and I think that's where our collective energy is heading, where the chaos is heading to that level. And some spiritual people are talking about there being power blackouts. Some people are talking about internet blackouts. Some are talking things with food supplies and things. I mean, here in Australia at the moment with the diesel issue and the truck issue, people are predicting that there's going to be less food, obviously, in the supermarkets because the trucks can't deliver because they don't have fuel. So there's a few different things that could be happening. And I'm not saying this to scare anyone. I'm not fear-mongering. This is just the way that things are playing out in the 3D, in our physical reality. And but behind that is the energetic chaos. And people always refer to this as a 3D thing and a 3D matrix thing, but it really isn't. And I really don't believe that at all. This is definitely more of a fourth dimensional battle that we are in, where they are really using that fourth dimensional field of fear mongering, because that's the dimensional frequency where we house our beliefs. It's where we house our connection to each other. It's where we hold duality. It's where we hold our spiritual beliefs, like our ego, like the things that make us who we are. In quotes, I'm going to put that. So, yeah, and this is the dimensional frequency in which the reptilians, the Dracos, Luciferians, demonics, this is their energetic frequency, just like the telluric realm are on the second dimensional frequency. And we have Pleiadian beings, Arcturian beings up in the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th dimensional frequencies. The 4th dimensional frequency is their playground. It's their, like, they are so all over how to use this energy. They're so much more well-versed in how to use the ley lines, how to use the energy of the planet, how to distort things, because we've never been taught how to do it the other way around, right? So they're a lot better at manipulating and distorting than we are as holding and bringing back into balance. But we're getting there as we awaken. So anywho, a little bit off track there, but what are we supposed to do to help this? How do we learn from last time? And how do we make sure that we are really holding that higher vibrational frequency, that we are holding more of a new earth timeline, that we are managing to hold expansion and possibility and unity in this time as it comes up, when there's going to be so many people, going the other way, and there's so much energy holding us in the opposite direction. So this week in the Sacred Priestess Initiation, we have been working with Goddess Athena. And it's so funny how, is it funny? Coincidence? Probably not. Divine timing, how things line up in that respect when we're working with the goddesses and what's sort of going on with planets or with moons and what's coming up, because Goddess Athena she brings us the key of embodying the sacred feminine warrior. And sacred feminine warrior energy is not about the third dimension. It's not about getting fisticuffs. It's not about going out and marching and doing things in a physical way. The sacred feminine warrior, it's about an energetic warrior. It's about you being sovereign in your energy, understanding your own energy, being able to clear your own energy, and allowing or not allowing distortion to come into your field, to sway you, to move you, to manipulate you in different ways. So yeah, like I said, you can stand sovereign. You can stand in your personal power, and that's the energy that she brings to us through her experience, and listening to her story is, and the things that come through with her story that she's brought through to us in the initiation is really, really interesting. And yeah, I highly recommend joining us next time. I'll pop the link for the wait list below, but so that you can learn more about that. But yeah, that's what she brings to us. And she's brought through these 5 things today that we can really be doing to make sure that as this chaotic energy within the human consciousness, within the planet, begins to build and rise, and which we know is only happening because the timelines have split, like New Earth, Old Earth, so we know why it's ramping up. We know why they need to be doing this and to be bringing and causing more chaos. And so, yeah, we just need to make sure that we're holding those vibrations. And yeah, so like I said, Athena's brought through these 5 things for us today. So the first thing we need to just make sure we're on top of is our self-awareness. So self-awareness, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, we need to make sure that we are very aware of how we're feeling, how we're reacting, any beliefs or things that are still sort of bubbling underneath the surface, anything that's coming up to be healed and let go of. Where are we actually still buying into old timelines? Where are we still buying into all of the things like duality? Where are we still letting things from our past influence the way that we are, the state of beingness that we are in? So it's just, yeah, making sure that we're really aware of our own energy, aware of where we're being led, pulled, aware of where we're placing our energy, how much we are allowing ourselves to just spend time every day connecting to the earth, connecting to the stars, aligning with your higher self. So yeah, that's the first thing that we really just need to make sure that we are doing. And I think the best thing to do is just to be checking, make sure you're doing your rituals, your routines of checking in with yourself every day. Make sure that, in the morning, you're just checking where your emotions are at, checking where your field is at, checking where you are mentally, seeing if any healing's coming up, double checking, the astrology with your favorite astrology person, or the new moon cycles, full moon cycles, just to see what might be influencing you, just so that you know where you're at. That's really, really important. The second thing is to remember to be the observer. And this is something that really throws people, because I think people get stuck in this perception that if I'm detaching and I'm observing, then I don't care. And nothing could be further from the truth. You can be the observer and you can sort of watch what's going on around you and still care at the same time. But there's something bigger going on here. And at the end of the day, we need to remember the spiritual perspective of what's playing out. And, if you're going to get caught up in the chaos, and when I talk chaos, I mean emotional, energetic chaos, right? That whirlwind of anger and fear and frustration and duality and people yelling and people getting annoyed and people freaking out. Like that energetic chaos is what I'm talking about. In order for us to stay out of that, we need to be able to just observe what is happening in the 3rd dimensional space without, like I said, getting into the fear and the anger and the duality and all of those things. So learning to really detach emotionally, observe the things that are going on in the world. And I'm not just saying what's going on in the world, as you're watching YouTube videos, as you're flicking through Instagram or TikTok and people are, talking at you, because that's what a lot of these people are doing. They're talking at you. And, the energy that they're throwing at you. And one thing that I've really noticed is independent media, and the people who claim to be independent media are really no longer independent media. They all have a side now. There's not really many people who are literally just looking at everything from a point of neutrality. If you do know, please share them in the comments for people, because one thing I've noticed is that because of the way algorithms work now, they throw one side versus the other at everyone, no matter what it is that is being discussed. So yeah, we need to really make sure that we are able to stand back and be neutral about in our emotions with what's going on. So yeah, that's the second thing that she brings through. The third thing she brings through is that duality. And duality poses a really stingy yet important question of what is it that you are not seeing inside of you that still needs to be healed. When you are having a go at people and when you're getting angry and you're getting swept up in the argument of I'm right, they're wrong, all this far left and far right, and if you vote for this person, you're a this, and if you believe that, then you're a that. What is it within you that is not allowing somebody else to have their sovereign opinion? Is it the teenager in you that was never heard or listened to? What is that part of you that needs to be agreed with, that needs to be right, that needs to be, whatever it is? And this is a stingy question that this brings up, but it's really, really important if we want to make sure that we are coming into unity. To come into unity, to stop the duality, we need to understand that everybody is a sovereign being, that everybody is here doing the best that they can, that everybody is here. We are all different and we do all have different opinions, and we are going to agree with some things and not with others. And it's that whole agree to disagree mentality that we need to step into without feeling the need like we have to prove our point. I mean, and the Shmo Shmo was a perfect example where there were so many people trying to shake people awake. You can't do it, and you have to let them be. And you have to wonder you have to have a look inside and go, okay, what is it within me that makes me feel like I have to get them to see the same as me? That's part of that mirroring. It's part of that healing. But yeah, stepping out of duality is really, really important. If you can't look at an issue or listen to somebody speaking about something that's going on in the world that has an opposing opinion to you without getting drawn into you're an idiot, you're wrong, and getting all angry and funny, you really need to start asking yourself why, and being sure that you can watch something, that you can interact with something in neutrality. And the hard thing is when it comes to social media and when it comes to watching things on the YouTubes and the interwebs, is that you've got so much energy in that computer, in that thread, in the comment section that is pulling you in, right? That's your energy versus the 1,000 comments that are on that post. And so it really can be hard to, again, you need to have that self-awareness, become the observer, and step back into neutrality. All of these points run, sort of these are the steps to take. So yeah, stepping into neutrality, letting go of duality is really, really important when it comes to this, because old earth is duality, new earth is unity. You can't have both. You can have opposing opinions and you can talk about it, and come into unity with that. But the fighting with the duality, the you're right, or I'm right, you're wrong. If you're doing this, then you're silly and you don't get it. And, all those kind of things. And I'm sure I'm talking to people who know that and don't do that. But this is one of the really important things that comes through with this, because duality and that us fighting against each other is one of their biggest tactics that we always seem to fall into. We always get trapped into it time and time and time again. So that's duality. The next thing is sovereignty. You need to make sure that you're cleaning your field every single day, and, multiple times. More than likely. So making sure you're grounding into earth, making sure you're use her beautiful crystalline energy to help cleanse and clear your channel, to help cleanse and clear your system. all your geometries, all your levels and layers of all of your energy. Connect into Christ Sophia, God, Goddess. Ask your guides and angels, your higher self, to help you just really sweep out any distortion in your field, your emotions and others' emotions, your fears and other fears that have been putting onto you, anything that you've taken on that doesn't belong to you, timelines, trajectories, projections, expectations, all of these things that are distorting your field. Clear them out every single day. And if you are an Instagrammy, Facebook scrolly, TikTok scrolly person who does get into that, then just make sure you're doing something before you get on it. Like put up some form of, just make sure you do a bit of an energetic clear out and go in with the intention of, okay, I'm going to be the observer with this today, and I'm going to stay in neutrality with everything that I look at. And just notice where your energy is at before you start, and then notice where your energy is at when you finish. And make sure that if you have been doing that, you have been watching any of these things, or even having a conversation with somebody that's like, gotten a little bit out of hand, or you've noticed that it's like everyone's gotten a bit heightened within it, then just make sure that afterwards you're detaching from that you're cutting all the cords, you're cutting all the ties, you're sweeping everything out of your energy. Even if you've been on the Instagrams, the TikToks, make sure that you're unplugging from all the comments, unplugging from all the posts, unplugging from all the things, and cleaning out your energy field. Because you cannot have sovereignty if your energy field is distorted with all of these things and it's swept up in the chaos of anger and duality and fear and worry and all sadness and all of the things. So that's one thing that really comes through very, very strongly. And the last thing that she brings through is to make sure you're just staying connected to your highest timeline. The more you stay connected to your highest timeline, the more you're staying connected to the New Earth timeline. So, and I mean, even plugging into the New Earth timeline if you want. So anytime that you're clearing your field, anytime that you're stepping into work, just how can I align more with the New Earth timeline today? How can I align more with my highest timeline today? And how do I keep stepping into that? Because as you do that, then you heal things. As you heal things, your vibration rises. People are always like, oh, how do I make my vibration higher? You have to do the work. You have to let stuff go. In order to raise your vibration, you have to be letting go of the emotion, letting go of the grief, letting go of the sadness, letting go of past life stuff, letting go of, limiting beliefs. That's how you raise your vibration. You can't fake your way through raising your vibration just by, saying affirmations every day. And not that they don't help with clearing and things like that, but, you have to be doing the work. In order to raise your vibration. So, if you can wake up every day asking, okay, how do I step into my highest timeline today? What do I need to let go of? What do I need to bring in? What do I need to, and I'm not saying it's all about healing. Like, I'm also not one of those people that's like, well, if you're not healing something and crying in a corner somewhere, you're not doing the work. That's not true. We can also heal through expansion and possibility and happiness and joy. And I think that's where we're headed a little bit more this year, is more into that rather than into deep grief healing. So, even asking that, how do I step into expansion and possibility, and how can I do it in the most joyful way, right? Because joy is like the highest vibrational frequency. And the more that we're in that, the more that we're following that, the more that we're following our higher self through joy. We follow it through our heart space, through our inner knowing, what lights us up, what makes us feel good, what makes us feel expansive and full of possibility, and what makes us contract and go, ugh. If something's making you contract and go, ugh, you need to get out of there. You need to stop doing it, right? Or you need to figure out a way to sort of, bring yourself to a point where it does fill you with expansion rather than dread, for want of a better word. So they are the 5 things that we can be doing to stay out of the collective chaos. I'll just go over them again. So the number 1 is making sure you have self-awareness within your energy, your emotions, your reactions, the way that you are interacting with all of this stuff that's going on. Next is to be the observer, detach emotionally, stand back and look at it from more of a, I suppose, spiritual perspective, from more of a bird's eye view, all of the things that are going on, that stops you from sort of getting entrapped in the emotional chaos that they're creating. Next is stepping out of duality. Where can you find neutrality? And just asking those stingy questions of, why is it that I feel I need to be right? Why is it that I believe I'm right, they're wrong? Like, where is that coming from? Usually it's an inner teen thing, like childhood thing, of not being heard and not being listened to, and feeling like you're not validated, like all those kind of things. So just be aware of that. So that's stepping out of duality and into neutrality. Number 4 is sovereignty, making sure you're clearing your field, making sure you're aligning with your higher self. And just making sure that you're very aware of your own emotions and clearing all of the stuff out of your field, especially if you have been scrolling or watching, YouTube or watching the news or whatever. And the last is just making sure you're always aligning every day with your highest timeline, with the newest timeline. How can I get more in line with this energy? How can I step into expansion, possibility, and joy, rather than, stepping into the chaos? So I hope that has been helpful. I thank Goddess Athena so much for coming forward and bringing us this information. And also, like I said, if you would like to work with her a little bit more in the Sacred Priestess Initiation, where we also work with Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, Christ Sophia, Aphrodite, Isis, the Seven Sisters, the Pleiades, then I will put the waitlist link below. So you'll be notified VIPly with some cool VIP stuff as soon as that opens in about a month's time. I think it is, we do the next round. So I'll put that below. Also come and join us in the Facebook group where we talk a lot more about this stuff. We do some intuitive exercises, card pulls, and all of those things. And or you can join me on the Instagrams. Make sure you follow this podcast if you would like to be notified of the episodes that come out, which come out every Tuesday. It's so wonderful to have you here, and I'd love for you to stick around and play. And thanks so much for being here. I will see you again next week. All right, bye.